Hi everyone! Come with me as we travel to Glasgow, Edinburgh, and London. We did this trip in April of 2025 because my younger sister was studying abroad in London spring of 2025, and we decided to take this trip to go out and visit her. The trip started with a flight from Seattle to London Heathrow, and then a second flight from London to Glasgow. As soon as we got into Glasgow, we had a quick lunch and then got right into our activities for the afternoon with a walking tour around the city. Our family really likes walking tours because it's a great way to get oriented in the city and to learn about some of the history and culture there. Our tour guide gave us a really great route around the city, and we got to see a lot of the older buildings and architecture, which were really cool to see. We got to walk across one of the college campuses that they have there, and we ultimately ended up at the Glasgow Cathedral, which was a super impressive building and absolutely beautiful. We walked around a little bit more that afternoon, just taking in all the sights and the new scenery. That evening, we got a quick dinner of Thai food before calling it a well-deserved night. Our official day one started with a day trip to Stirling Castle, Loch Lomond, and a whiskey distillery. Our van picked us up in the morning, and we started with Stirling Castle, which has a huge historical and cultural significance for Scotland. We learned all about Mary Queen of Scots, Robert de Bruce, and William Wallace, amongst many other people that had some part to play in this castle over the years. We got to walk the grounds with a tour guide who talked all about the history of the castle, and then we got our own time to walk through the various rooms that they had open, and it was super cool because they had the rooms fully decorated, and they even had people that were dressed up with outfits from the time that could answer your questions about things that happened several centuries ago. Once we were done with our time at the castle, we drove a little bit further until we got to Loch Lomond. A loch is essentially a lake in Scotland, and it was really cool just being able to see this well-known lake. And if you've ever heard the song The Bonny Banks of Loch Lomond, this lake is what that song is about. After our stop at the lake and a quick lunch, we went to our third stop of the day, which was the Glengoyne Distillery. We learned all about how whiskey was made and distilled, and we learned what it meant to have a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. All those words have some type of significance in there, and this distillery made exactly that. We even got to look inside one of the barrels with actively fermenting whiskey, and it was an experience on the senses for sure. That afternoon, we got to taste some whiskey from the distillery, which was a very cool experience, and then we headed back to the city. That evening, we got a quick dinner and then had the chance to walk around the University of Glasgow, which is just a beautiful sight to see, and how we decided to end the day. Day 2 was a travel day, which meant that we took the train from Glasgow to Edinburgh. The train ride was super cute and cozy, and before we knew it, we were smack dab in the center of Edinburgh. We met up with my sister there, got a quick lunch together, and then walked down the Royal Mile until we got to the King's Gallery and the Scottish Parliament. From there, we could see Arthur's Seat from afar and even got to walk inside the Parliament, which was super cool. That afternoon, we went to go see the Royal Yacht Britannia, which was the royal yacht for Queen Elizabeth II when they used to use it several decades ago. It was so cool because they had so many rooms open and decorated with the kinds of events that they would have there, where people slept, and other kinds of trinkets and knickknacks that they used to use. For dinner, we got a nice meal of neeps and tatties, which is essentially haggis with mashed potatoes and rutabaga or turnips. And after that, we walked around downtown Edinburgh, watched the sunset, and got ready for the next day. On day 3, we had another full day tour that took us outside of Edinburgh and towards St. Andrews. It was a little bit of a road trip, so along the way we stopped by Anstruther, which was this cute little town with a few businesses, and as a traditional fishing village, they had this little marina area and a beach that you could walk around on. Our next stop was St. Andrews, which is known as the home of golf. The city is over 1,000 years old and it has 3 main streets going through the middle of it. And being a relatively small town, we were able to get through all 3 main streets, look at their shops, the university that they had there, as well as remnants of a very old cathedral. Once we had lunch, we visited the famous golf course, and if you are a golf fan, you might recognize this bridge right here. Wrapping up our time in St. Andrews, we headed back to Edinburgh, but not before stopping in Falkland to explore the historic village that they had there. Once we were almost back home, we stopped by the Forth Bridges, which are a UNESCO heritage site, and it was really cool just to get to see those from afar, drive across them, and check it off of our list. Once we were back from our full day trip, it was just about dinner time, so we found this cute little Mediterranean restaurant, filled up our bellies, and then settled down to sleep. Day 4 was our full day in Edinburgh, and we spent 6 hours on a walking tour that day. We had a very small group and a very knowledgeable guide who walked us all around the city. That morning, we started in more of a neighborhood setting, getting to walk through the Georgian house and learn a lot about Scottish history, getting to see an entire home kind of mocked up from several hundred years ago, and a lot of the contraptions and inventions of things that they had back then were just really cool to see entirely set up. Walking to our next locations, we stumbled across a bunch of random things, including the birthplace of Alexander Graham Bell, and it was just super cool getting to see how many important people had spent time in Edinburgh. As we continued walking, we kept getting closer and closer to the Edinburgh Castle, which we would eventually get to see. But first, we stopped at the National Gallery, which had a bunch of beautiful pieces of art, both of history and of nature, and there were so many stories to go with them, which was super cool. Our next stop was the Royal Mile. We got to see some of the old-style Supreme Courts, beautiful stained glass windows, and a lot of the shops and people that were visiting in Scotland. After a quick lunch break, we continued with our journey and saw one of the more internationally known figures in Scotland, which is Greyfriars Bobby. There was a statue of the dog and a pub to match with a bunch of little signs about him, his gravestone, and he seemed like such a cute little dog. After that, we continued, finally working our way up to the Edinburgh Castle, passing by these very colorfully painted shops along the way, and people say this is what inspired J.K. Rowling to create Diagon Alley. Finally, we reached the top of the hill and walked right up to Edinburgh Castle, which was absolutely massive. Being at the very top of the city, it was pretty chilly up there, so we kept our jackets zipped up tight, and then we just had a bunch of time to ourselves to explore the castle and the things in it. It was super cool getting to walk along the grounds, getting to walk inside the buildings, and even though we didn't get to film a bunch inside, there were so many cool things, including the Scottish crown jewels that we got to see in there. At the end of our tour, our day wasn't over just yet. We actually took a night flight out from Edinburgh to London, and we were absolutely exhausted after this entire day, but ready to see a new country. On day 5, we woke up in London, ready to take on a brand new city. This is Arwen's area of expertise, since she was the one who was studying abroad there. And so we started out our day at the Tower of London. Our family had not been to the Tower of London before, so we really wanted to give it a tour for the first time. Once inside the walls, you had the options to do a variety of tours, including the Beef Eater tour, where someone dressed up would walk you around the grounds, giving you a bit of history along the way. We had the really cool opportunity to mirror our experience in Scotland and see the British crown jewels, which was just so cool to have those back to back. Outside of those experiences, we got to walk up into a variety of different towers that they had open for viewing and just learn about all the events and history that happened in the Tower of London over time. There were some parts that were interactive. We got to learn about currency from several hundred years ago, and it was just really a cool way to submerge yourself in history. After our very long tour in the tower, we walked across the Tower Bridge, which was just really cool to be right in the middle of this well-known landmark. We were on the hunt for some markets since it was Sunday, and it also happened to be Easter, which meant that not all of the markets were totally open that day, but we did end up finding this covered one that had so many vendors selling purses and knickknacks and clothes and food and everything in between. For lunch, we went to Dishoom, which apparently is now an internationally known spot for getting Indian food, and the meal definitely lived up to the hype. Once we were full, we continued walking, just finding these open-air markets and seeing Arwen's apartment and her university along the way. And then we made our way to Chinatown. This was a pretty quick stop since we had been here before, but it was still just a cute part of town that we wanted to visit again. After that, we wanted to walk to Big Ben and the London Eye, and on the way, we saw this beautiful park with a bunch of tulips that was just perfect for Easter. We played a little round of ping pong with a stranger, which I feel like was just a peak London experience. We saw Big Ben again, as well as the London Eye from afar, and they looked exactly how we remembered them. And after just a little bit more walking, we finally gave our legs a break and got some dinner at the Arcade Food Hall. It's this really cool setup with a bunch of different restaurants inside, and so each person can basically get what they want and you all sit at the same table. That evening, we got a nightcap to stop our feet from hurting and settle down for a well-deserved night's rest before our last full day in London. Day 6 was our last day of the trip, but the excitement was far from over. That morning, Arwen and I started out getting breakfast together and stopping by Blank Street Coffee, which is a must, especially for their matcha. And we got a little morning walk in before meeting up with my parents because we were headed to the Warner Brothers studio tour. I had been looking forward to this the entire trip, and it was my one ask of things to see while we were there. Before we even started the tour, there were mini sets that were already set up, and our family decided to take advantage of the high tea experience. It was so cute getting to see all the food and drink themed for Harry Potter, and definitely got us excited for the tour. After we got fueled up, we got in line for the tour and the fun started. We definitely underestimated the size of this place because there was so much to see. We started out in the Great Hall and it just felt like we were walking directly into the movie. Everywhere we turned, they had some kind of show that was set up for us, as well as opportunities to learn about the behind the scenes and making of the Harry Potter movies. It was really cool to learn about things like visual effects versus special effects, having the helpful staff be ready to explain or go in depth into the movies and how they were made. And there were so many different sets and scenes that they made come to life for us as visitors. We weren't even halfway through yet when we got to the Forbidden Forest and got to see all the things hiding in there. We took a necessary stop at platform 9 3/4 for a photo opportunity. And then we got to the courtyard where they had Privet Drive, Harry's childhood home, as well as the greenhouse where we got to pick some of our own mandrakes, and boy were they loud. After that, we did a walkthrough of Gringotts, which was just spectacular, and they even had a very short show where a dragon came to set everything on fire. Before we finished the tour, we got to walk through a smaller version of Diagon Alley, which was super cool to see, especially if you've seen the Wizards of Baking TV show. And as a finale, you got to walk down this spiral staircase all the way around this model of Hogwarts, which was just spectacular. The whole tour was absolutely amazing, and we easily could have spent like 3 more hours there, but it was about time for us to get back to London. We wrapped up our night with one last dinner together as a family, even finding a speakeasy afterwards that was themed for this kind of train in World War II era, which was super cool. And on our way back to our hotel, we got to sit at the top of a double-decker bus and enjoy our last night in the city. Our last day was all travel and saying goodbyes. I had an early morning direct flight to go back home. It was such a wonderful experience getting to see London for a second time and exploring Scotland for the first. There's definitely much more to see in both places, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to spend time where we did and with our family. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you next time.